welcome back to Lloyd and JD, the best fucking podcast in the world. I am Lloyd.
I'm JD.
What's up, man?
Not too much.
What have you been up to?
I've just been I've been organizing the office, just trying to get that back under control, get it set up to another set that I kind of like, and it's a constant thing, right? You know, being an artist, and you know when you do work and you get going, it just becomes a big kind of tornado of crap that just kind of turns into a mountain, and you got to deal with it all the time. You know, I'll get this all cleaned up in the next couple weeks, and it'll be back to square one probably about 4 weeks after that. It's kind of a losing battle, but it enables me to get a lot of crap out of there. Like I'll have a lot of, you know,
hard to get rid of
half
stuff,
sketches and all sorts of stuff, and I'll organize and, you know, make sure that things are put away. I find a lot of stuff that I'd been working on
I've been sketching
I just sort of abandoned, and you know what it's like. It's just you work on stuff, you put it away, and you leave it, and you forget you have it.
I haven't sketched in years.
Yeah,
literally.
You should get back into it. I mean, you did some fantastic stuff. I mean, you've definitely got some good talent, and
I just don't want to.
Right, and that's fair. I mean, I think a lot of people fail to realize a lot of times that artwork is work, and you know it's.
I just don't feel like it, and I don't ever force myself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel like it, you don't feel like it.
Well, when you're doing it as a hobby, absolutely. Like, why would you do something if you don't feel like doing it? Yeah,
if you're not having fun doing it. It's funny you say that. You know, if you're not enjoying your hobby, because I've recently, you know, I have been painting.
Yeah.
Little models.
Yeah.
So it's not typically the same as, it takes skill. Still artistic.
It's still very artistic. Exactly.
I've been learning a lot, watching a lot of videos, because I've always painted them since I was a kid. But you look back at your old stuff and you're like, you thought that was good, and you're like, you know what I mean? But I've been trying to, like, I want, like, maybe eventually to enter into Golden Demon or a Crystal Brush, which has always been my dream, like, since a little kid. Like, it's not something that I've just thought up. Like, I get in and out of this hobby, and it's always been my dream. I always make my own bases. I go full out, and but I never think I'm at that. I'm not at that, because you look at the Golden Demons and they're fucking mint. It has to look mint. And the best thing I heard the other day was, it wants to look like it is, not like you painted it like it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a swamp, you don't want it to look like you've painted it to look like a swamp.
You want it to look like a swamp. Yeah.
And that's the fine thing. And right now, it looks good, like I've painted a good swamp. Yeah. But it doesn't look like it was a swamp. And that's what I'm trying to work on, and I've been watching a lot of videos on how to, like, do a lot of blending, and it's time taking. It's all watering down your paints to where they're translucent and multiple layers. Yeah, because where you're gonna, you know, paint is like a fabric. Yeah, you're laying a layer of fabric over that, and if you layer, let dry, layer, let dry, layer, let dry, where you've been layering is now darker and going to have that color pigment, but it's going to be a slower increase instead of just layering on your paint. And that has been the biggest step from me being like, this looks like I painted it and this looks like it's real. Yeah. And a wet palette and layering really thin paints.
Yeah, it's across. I think that's across the board for painting. I mean, you know that I airbrush. Very similar process in the sense that you don't just, like, if it's red, you don't just take red and make it red. It's a buildup of paint.
Yeah, and I'd be trying to blend before, and I'm like always trying to wet blend. Yeah. So I'm like got red and I got my orange, and say I wanted to blend them, I'm like trying to blend between and then get the color off and blend like you would if you were doing an oil painting or something. That's not how you do it. Yeah. You want to get your base coat, so maybe put down a yellow. Yeah. Layer your red in from here, layer your orange in from here, and now you're starting to get a much smoother transition, and your colors are translucent, right? Yeah. But red's difficult because people that know about red is not translucent. Yeah. So red is
you do it amazing at airbrushing, because airbrushing is very, very similar process. And
the only reason I looked into buying an airbrush for modeling, and I probably will eventually, because building big armies, you need an airbrush just to get the cracking out.
Get you want one? I'll just give you one.
Sure, let's talk about that after the show. But but for me, if I was going to enter Gold Demon, I want it to be a brushwork. Yeah. That's important for me, because that took time, and that means, like, the airbrush is brilliant, and they make some brilliant, like, some of the models you see from them, because the blend's unbelievable. Yeah. You can't get a better blend. But I want to, it's a dying art to paint these with paintbrush. So if you're entering into a thing, you want to put as much, and even to start the base off with an airbrush is fucking so much quicker. Especially the model I just made is about this big. Yeah, painting that green with a fucking big paintbrush.
There'll be an advantage because if you understand how to control an airbrush and paint, you'll be able to get where you need consistent base. You'll be able to do that.
And
then
you can go in
quicker,
afterwards,
right?
with
and I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, and I mean, this is kind of one of the things like there in airbrushing. You know, there's some weird stuff. It's kind of like tattooing. There's a lot of people that are like airbrush elitists, and they're like, oh, if you airbrush, you just use an airbrush. Airbrush is just a fucking tool. It helps you get it done. If you go in with a paintbrush, because it is way easier to control paint with a paintbrush and get the
guys
detail.
Online get fine detail with airbrush, but like you said, they've been doing it for like 20 fucking 30 years.
Right. But you will never ever be as accurate as, you know, a single or couple bristle brush.
When you're doing a job, you use multiple tools.
Exactly. I mean, it's just
people get so arrogant that they like
exactly, and that's kind of my point. It's kind of like you're kind of fighting against yourself because you're like, oh, that's the wrong way to do it because you're supposed to do it all with this. And it's like, no, fuck you. It's like I'll do it whatever way, whatever gets the results I need. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's
if at the end you're like, oh my god, that looks amazing. Then that doesn't make any difference.
And I mean that comes with paint, photography, all that kind of thing. It doesn't matter what you use. It's the end result that matters. I mean, nobody looks at anything and says, oh, well, you used, you know, obviously a 6-point brush instead of a 3-point brush. And, you know, I mean, there may be arrogant pricks out there that are like that, but, you know, the vast majority of people that look at your stuff are not going to see it. But, I mean, the model that you showed me, you know, ultimately you're like crafting like little mushrooms and building, like, it's sculpture on top of what it is. I mean, they give you a base, but, I mean, you really kind of deviate from that. And that's the beauty of it, of the art of things. And, you know, furthermore to that is that it's cool that, you know, you said you haven't drawn in a long time, but you're still doing artistic things.
Yeah. When I showed you my Orc Army too, I've built their bases, I've changed their stances, I've changed their, you know, I didn't just take the model and paint it, I've changed the model. Yeah. So you can't find that model anymore. I've now made that personalized, which is cool. But that Glotkin, that's what it's called. It's a big demon looking thing. That was my first try at like something quite large that I wanted to spend a lot of time. Like I said, it took me a month, like a few hours every night. About a month. So I just put a lot of time into it and I layering. So that was the first one and I like it, but I still don't think it's at like, it's not at like golden demon level. So
that's the thing. It's good to have goals. It's good
I'm practicing right now. I got an army for Christmas. I got some stuff bought for me for Christmas. I'm going to paint them up. I'm using all the techniques I've been learning about. And then I have one in mind, a figure in mind that I want to buy eventually to be like, hey, this is going to be the crystal brush.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Hopefully one day I can enter into a competition. I got a lot, you know, I'm getting older. You need like dad hobbies.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Well, it's nice to have those things that are quiet and, you know, keep you, you know, sort of.
Yeah, and it kept me off. It kept me off the video games for a little bit, just because I wasn't feeling video games. I'm not feeling any of the video games that came out recently. I did buy Shadow of War.
Yeah.
For like $17.
Yeah.
Bargain. It was like a $80 game.
Yeah. Oh, you know, it's that time of year, right? I mean, Black Friday just happened, so
I'm just not into anything. Nothing has like striked me to be like, I gotta get this. Red Dead Redemption. Nah. You know you can get raped in that game?
What?
They showed it on the radio, like, well, not on the radio. It's like a news thing, but you can watch it on YouTube. Yeah. It's similar to what we do. And like, a geezer goes into his tent and he rapes him.
Fun times.
That's fucked.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to look where it comes from. It comes from Rockstar Games, which is known for pushing the package.
He butt raped him.
Yeah. Well,
that's deep, man. There's kids playing this game.
Yeah. Well, there's people playing Grand Theft Auto 3 when it came out, and you were
rape anyone.
You know, you'd rape hookers and kill them to get your money back.
Yeah, but it was different. Like you'd go like, I know what you're saying, and it is bad, but the graphics weren't where they were.
No.
You go to an alleyway. Sometimes they'd walk towards your car and then they turn. And like, it didn't have like an emotional feel. And then they would like get in your car and the car's like, and you're like, fuck that. Your money's like going down. You're like, no way. And you run her over and you get like $1 back. And you're like, I spent 10. That makes no sense. How did you spend $9 from the time that you left the car? I get that was bad, but it almost had a comical feel about it. This felt gross.
Yeah.
Like great graphics. Like state-of-the-art game.
Yeah.
He walks into the tent and he like graphically arse rapes him. Like this isn't like
Brokeback Mountain.
It's not like Shaking Tent.
Yeah.
He butt rapes him.
Yeah.
Like a video butt rape.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they're gonna push the package. I mean that
push the bloody package. Yeah. That didn't need to be in the game. Like no fucking need for that at all.
Yeah.
Like you could do whatever you want. Great.
Yeah.
First thing I'm gonna do is get the game of butt rape Geordie. Where is he?
There you go.
Where is he?
Watch out, Jordy. You got it coming, Jordy.
Yeah, where is he?
But I mean, video games are known sometimes for pushing the package and trying to elicit that emotional response. Obviously,
I don't
it
want
worked
that
well.
kind of emotional response to a fucking video game, especially when kids are going to be playing it. Yeah, you rated it 18, but there's shitty parents out there that are going to let their kid play this game. You know that.
But that's like, things like The Darkness, right? I mean, if you played The Darkness on Xbox, there's one point in the story where the darkness is taking over Jackie, and Jackie goes and the mob boss is talking to his girlfriend, and he's on the other side of the glass, and the darkness takes over and holds him, and basically he watches his girl graphically get murdered right in front of him in the game. And again, that it's kind of like, wow, that's over the top, but I mean, it's part of the story, and it elicits an emotional response. And I mean, that's kind of the thing. I mean, it's when you go to the movies and
yeah, but butt rape,
it kind of
butt rape.
Well,
butt rape.
I bet you that guy's, if you've been, well, you're not playing the game, I'm not playing the game. I imagine at some point it feels pretty good when you take that guy out.
I thought you were going to say it feels pretty good when he comes in your tent.
I'm not into that. Not into that.
Scared me a little bit there.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure when you enact your
some
revenge.
point in that game, that shit's going to feel pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to play it. Sounds stupid. Oh, my leg. My leg.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been playing Grand Theft Auto, which tells you how far behind I am. I'm playing like 5, so... I had to catch up again because I switched systems.
I'm just not into it right now.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. You got to be into those things, And
like, I play Battlefield 4 still a little bit, but no, I'm just not in the gaming right now.
Life's too short to not do what you want to do. It's funny because I was a guest on another podcast about 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Yeah. It's about creatives and artists. It's called Creative Block, and if you want to check out the episode, go ahead. But I mean, it was funny because me, I've done a lot of things artistically, everything from graffiti paint to tattooing to fine art to you name it, and I continually switch to videos, to this, to who knows what. Life's too short to not do what you don't want to do. I mean, when I was done tattooing, I didn't keep on going. I just said I'm done tattooing, and I moved on. Right? I mean, it doesn't mean I can't go back, but I mean that's what keeps things, interesting in your life. It stops you from burning out. It means that you actually enjoy stuff. I mean, there's no point in being miserable. It's like, oh, I have to draw and sit at the bench and draw. Sort of a Korean animator.
Well, yeah, it goes back to what you said at the beginning, when like if you're not enjoying your hobby, and I did start to elaborate on that, and it drifted madly off. But I was watching a guy the other day, and he had the same question. He does like a hobbying podcast, maybe you would call it. And he's like, when have you gone too far with your hobby to where you're not enjoying it? Like, because you get like, he was talking about people like me, like, well, I'm striving for like perfection.
Yeah.
But that's because that's what I want out of the hobby.
Yeah.
But he's like, if you're doing that and you're not enjoying it, why you keep doing it? And you get tons of people out there that do carry on painting like models, but it like frustrates them to like their core. And it just doesn't make any sense. Like, if you want to half fucking paint it. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a hobby.
Yeah. I mean,
even if you just want to paint it all green.
Yeah, if that's your thing, do your thing. If you enjoy doing that,
the great thing about the hobby I'm into is it's got like multiple aspects of it. You got the guys that just collect the stuff painted. Right. Literally will buy it painted. Yeah. And just to look at it. You got the guys that only play. They'll buy painted models just to play it. Yeah. And they love playing. They've got a tournament.
The guys that'll do that, they just have the figures and, they're gray.
But that's if you're playing, like, I'm talking about guys that want to play like this is a real hobby. Like, I'm going to go tournaments and play. You have to have 3 colors. You cannot play with gray. You have to have 3 colors, and it has to signify who you're playing for. In certain tournaments, you can have like ultramarines and be like, I'm going to play as Blood Marines faction, because if you're playing as a Space Marine, there's about 80 different factions. There isn't, I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot of fractions, and you can claim, I'm going to play under this codex, a codex being a rule book for that set army. Right. You can kind of chop and change your things, but if you're going to play like, this is a hobby, I do this, you're going to want colors that represent the codex you're playing, because certain tournaments will be like, no, like you need more than 3 colors on each model. So if you're playing Ultramarines, you're going to want a blue. You can paint them all blue if you want, airbrush them all blue, and then put like white things on the arms to dictate what realm within the ultramarine community. They are, but you got first strike, second, all that shit.
Yeah.
And then you got to add like, eyes or hair or just something else that breaks it up. And a lot of commission guys that, do the hobby in game will airbrush. This is when airbrush really comes into play, because you can airbrush that darker blue and lighter blue eyes. You've now put more than 3 colors on it, but you've got, they call it a game top standard.
Yeah.
You look at it, it's visually appealing.
Yeah.
But if you get real close, you're like, oh, there's a belt here you've missed, or that doesn't matter to these guys, right? They just want 80 models painted like this army.
Right.
And they just want it to, from afar, when you're watching the game, it has aesthetic value. And that's the whole thing. The game's an imaginary game.
Yeah.
It's just like Dungeons and Dragons, but you got a figurine playing. Like it's not like, you're rolling dice, you're figuring out who's winning. Like it's mostly based on luck. You can't, you can have good tactics. I'm going to move guys here, move guys this, but when it always comes down to luck.
Yeah.
Are you going to get that armor save? Are you going to, it's one of those, it's a dice game. Dice games are luck. So visually appealing, these tournaments will want your models to be painted. So
that's part of the draw of it. I mean, if you go to any game design workshop, they have these huge tabletops with buildings, and it's there's a lot of work.
You can't just slap down some great models and
people
get immersed into
it. People wouldn't be happy.
It would break the immersion, and it's not as fun.
Yeah.
So you do get guys that will literally just buy them painted, or they're like, you can even go on Kijiji now. And there's guys like, paint my army because I want to play. I want to play now. So you got those, and then you got the guys that literally, like me, that just build. Yeah. They just build and paint. Or you got the guys that don't even build. Like they'll literally buy their models built from other guys. There's guys on eBay that build models and sell them primed. Yeah. And there's guys that just paint. Yeah. So there's literally so many different realms of the game. And then you got guys that do it all. They build them, they paint them, they play with them, they fucking jerk off to them afterwards when they're in like a glass container. So it's got a vast grab. Yeah. Because you don't have to play the game. Like if you think the game's gay, you don't want to play it, don't fucking play it. You know what I mean? Like I went into the, Games Workshop, they are on you like flies the minute you're in there. And he's like, what are you looking for? I'm like,
it's a cult.
I've never played. Like I just paint. I just build and paint. I would play, but I don't want to come here. Yeah. Because you're a fucking maniac.
There you go.
I think the best thing that you could take from it is to not be so
aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like no one's been in there all day.
Yeah. I went to Game Design Workshop once when they had an auction, and oh my God. It was just, they're savages, man. Savages. I don't know what it is, but they're just savages. Yeah. But you know what? They love what they do, and I'm not,
I think the main part of it for them is getting more people into it because they don't want it to die out.
Right.
You want to, things can have a thing of like a habit of dying out and then being hard to, like how many Games Workshops do you know of? One?
Yep.
Same one that I know about.
Yeah. So there used to be 2, and then
so it's already at the stage where you've got one store left, and that one store is deader than a motherfucker. You know what I mean? So keeping income in that store is probably a big part of these.
I think lives. Online has killed a lot of that stuff, and
it has in a sense. Like I've bought models online. Obviously, eBay is amazing. Like you can find guys that do commission work for like Games Workshop. Like literally, they probably shouldn't be doing this, but they do commission work for like 4 Games Workshop to paint models. So the models get sent to them daily, and they just sell them for like, because they get like the one guy I got one off. I got like it's a really good starter set. It just came out, and I got half of it. The half of it that I wanted. I didn't want the other half, so I would have had to go spend $180 to have half of something I didn't want. Yeah. So I paid less than what it was worth, and I got the half I wanted. And I was like, "How did you get a hold of this stuff?" And he's like, "I literally like people send me sprues like to paint them up," and he's like, "I get extras, I get all sorts, and I'll put the sprues together, like you know what I mean. So I'll remake the package." Yeah. So it just comes in like so guys are just selling it for like what you'd usually pay for $70 in the store or even online, you're paying like $20, $30.
Crazy. Well, that's all we have time for this week.
Yay. I'm Lloyd.
I'm JD.
Hey.
See ya.